Welcome to Key to Serene. Before we begin our journey tonight, leaving the modern world behind for a landscape of ancient mysteries, flickering fires, and divine ecstasy, I invite you to find your most comfortable position. Adjust your pillows, pull your blankets close, and feel the weight of the day begin to lift from your shoulders. Take a deep, intentional breath. As you exhale, let the tension in your body dissolve into the surface beneath you. If you find peace in these journeys through history and wish to travel with us again, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Your support allows us to continue crafting these quiet, immersive spaces for your rest. Now, let the walls around you begin to fade. Imagine the white marble of the city cooling under a silver moon. The air is turning heavy with the scent of pine and crushed grapes. Beyond the city gates, the drums are starting to beat, a low, rhythmic thrum calling you toward the mountains. Let us begin our journey into the shadows of Mount Cithaeron, into the world of the twice-born god. Tonight, we follow the scent of wood smoke and crushed grapes into the dark, humid heart of the mountains. We are entering the world of Dionysus. This is a journey into the secret, erotic night-rites of the ancient world, a place of sacred ecstasy, wild revelry, and the raw power of the human soul. As the drums begin to beat in the distance, let your body relax. Let the rhythm of the ancient forest guide your breath. You are safe. You are anonymous, and the outsider god is calling you home. Welcome to the Orgia. Part 1. The Midnight Call. Imagine a night where the rules of civilization simply vanish. We are in the heart of ancient Greece, but not in the white marble halls of the Senate. We are deep in the shadowed groves of Mount Cithaeron. The air is thick with the scent of crushed grapes and wood smoke. You hear a sound, a low, rhythmic thrumming of drums that mimics a racing heartbeat. This is the Orgia. To the Greeks, this wasn't just a party, it was a sacred explosion of the senses. Men and women, masters and slaves, all shed their identities to become a single pulsing mass of humanity. In this sacred space, the body is a temple of pleasure, and the wild sex parties are a holy rite designed to release the tension of the soul. This is the world of the outsider god, and tonight you are invited to witness the ecstasy. The heat of the Orgia. Surrender to the senses. Imagine a night where the boundaries of the self don't just blur, they dissolve. We are far from the cold, intellectual marble of the city. We are deep within the humid, shadowed heart of Mount Cithaeron. The air here is thick, almost heavy enough to taste. It carries the musk of wild animals, the sweet, fermented rot of overripe grapes, and the unmistakable scent of thousands of bodies radiating heat into the cool night air. You hear it before you see it, a low rhythmic thrumming of drums that doesn't just hit your ears, it vibrates in your lower belly, matching the pulse of your own blood. This is the Orgia. To the Greeks, this was the ultimate release. The wild sex parties were not a descent into darkness, but an ascent into the raw, creative fire of the universe. Tonight, the laws of the superpower are dead. Tonight, there is only the skin, the breath, and the god. The architecture of desire. In the flickering orange glow of the towering pine resin bonfires, the world becomes a shifting tapestry of golden limbs and tangled hair. The outsider god demands that you shed your identity like a restrictive garment. Here, the heavy linen robes of the aristocrat and the rough tunics of the slave are cast aside into the dirt. Imagine the visual feast. The firelight catching the curve of a damp shoulder, the flex of a muscular thigh, the arch of a back lost in the rhythm of the dance. There is no hierarchy here, only the geometry of desire. Bodies move together in a single undulating wave, a pulsing mass of humanity where the friction of skin against skin creates a heat that rivals the bonfires. The Greeks called this eros, the primal force that binds the atoms of the world together. To touch another was to touch the divine. The taste of liberation. The wine is passed, not in measured sips, but in deep, desperate gulps from wide silver bowls. This is the black wine, unwatered and potent. As it spills, staining lips and chests a deep, bruised purple, the last remnants of inhibition vanish. The taste is a mixture of dark fruit, honey, and the sharp bite of resin. It acts as a liquid fire, traveling through the veins and igniting the nerve endings. Under the influence of the god, the senses are magnified 1,000-fold. The touch of a hand against the small of the back feels like a bolt of lightning. The sound of a collective, rhythmic sigh rising from a darkened glade becomes a symphony. This is the aphrodisia, the sacred celebration of the goddess of love within the temple of the god of wine. In these hidden groves, the sacred sex parties were a way to bridge the gap between the human and the eternal. Every embrace was an act of creation, a way to ensure that the life force of the earth remained vibrant and strong. The rhythmic ecstasy. The music of the aulos, the double pipe, reaches a fever pitch. Its sound is shrill, piercing, and deeply erotic. It bypasses the mind and speaks directly to the primitive centers of the brain. The dancers move with a frantic, beautiful desperation. There is a sense of ecstasis, of literally standing outside oneself, watching your own body become a vessel for pleasure. In the shadows beyond the fire's reach, the celebrations become more intimate. The air is filled with the sounds of the night, the crackle of the flames, the rustle of the ivy, and the soft, urgent sounds of thousands of people finding liberation in one another. There is no shame, only the profound animal honesty of the body. You are witnessing the heartbeat of a civilization that understood that to be truly sane, one must occasionally embrace the wild, erotic madness of the soul. The atmosphere of the Aegean night, as the sun begins its slow descent behind the jagged limestone peaks of the Peloponnese, a transformation takes hold of the Greek world. The air, which all day was a shimmering heat, begins to cool, carrying the sharp, resinous scent of Aleppo pines and the salty tang of the distant sea. This is the hour of the between time, the bridge between the rigid, sunlit world of law and the velvet, moonlit world of Dionysus. Imagine yourself standing on the outskirts of a bustling city-state like Athens or Thebes. Behind you are the stone walls, the markets where men argue over the price of grain, and the temples where logic is worshipped. But ahead of you lies the wild. The Greeks called this the agrios, the uncultivated land where the gods truly lived. You hear the first sound of the night, a low, percussive thrumming. It isn't a song, it's a vibration. It is the tympanum, the frame drum, beaten by hands stained with the juice of the harvest. The invitation to the feast tonight is the great Dionysia. In the superpower of the ancient world, this was the release valve for the human soul. You are invited to leave your name, your status, and your worries at the edge of the forest. To enter the Orgia is to become anonymous. In the flickering light of the pine resin torches, a general is indistinguishable from a stonemason. A queen is no different from a kitchen maid. The wild sex parties that history books often whisper about were not merely acts of hedonism, they were acts of radical equality. The Greeks believed that the ego, the I that wants to be better or richer than its neighbor, was a prison. Dionysus was the god who broke the locks. As you walk deeper into the grove, you feel the pressure of the city lifting from your shoulders. The rhythm of the drums begins to sync with your own pulse. You aren't just watching a festival, you are being swallowed by it. The sensory overload. The hook of the Dionysian night is the sensory explosion. Imagine the visual chaos. The orange glow of torches reflecting off the sweat-slicked skin of thousands of dancers. The sound of the aulos, a double-piped reed instrument, crying out with a high, haunting wail that seems to vibrate in the very marrow of your bones. The air grows heavy with the scent of the kykeon, a sacred drink, and the heavy, honeyed aroma of unwatered wine. In the city, the Greeks always diluted their wine with water to remain civilized. But tonight, under the shadow of the mountain, the wine is served neat, dark, thick as blood, and glowing with a purple intensity. It is the blood of the god, and to drink it is to invite the divine madness into your own veins. The communal pulse. As the dancing begins, the individual disappears. In the floating world of the Greek night, bodies move as one singular undulating wave. The sex parties were a celebration of the Zoe, the raw, indestructible energy of life. It was a communal embrace of fertility. The Greeks saw the act of physical union during these rites as a way to charge the earth itself. They believed that the joy experienced in these hidden glades would travel through the soil, ensuring that the vines would grow thick with grapes and the goats would bear twins in the spring. You are standing in the center of a living engine of creation. The heat from the bonfires, the rhythm of the feet stomping the earth, and the soft, rhythmic sighs of the crowd create a cocoon of sound. It is a heavy, warm blanket of human connection that prepares the mind to finally let go of its defenses. Part 2. The God of the Vine. To understand the chaos, we must understand the master of the revels, Dionysus. He was unlike any other Olympian. While Zeus ruled the sky and Poseidon the sea, Dionysus ruled the shadow. He was the god of wine, but also of ecstasis, the act of standing outside oneself. Dionysus was a traveler, often depicted with long, flowing hair and a gentle, almost feminine beauty that hid a terrifying power. He carried the thyrsus, a staff wrapped in ivy that could bring forth honey from a rock or strike a man with divine madness. He offered the Greeks a gift more precious than gold, the gift of liberation. In a society obsessed with logic and law, Dionysus was the necessary break, the god who allowed you to forget who you were and remember that you were part of the wild living earth. The origins of Dionysus, the lightning and the ash. To understand the god of the night, we must travel back before the festivals, before the marble theatres, to a moment of celestial violence and strange magic. Dionysus was not born like other gods. His story begins with a mortal woman named Semele, a princess of Thebes, and a secret love affair with Zeus, the king of the gods. Imagine the scene: a quiet chamber in the palace of Thebes, cooled by the evening breeze. Zeus appeared to Semele not as a god, but as a man. But Hera, the queen of the gods, discovered the tryst. With a heart sharpened by jealousy, she disguised herself as an old nurse and whispered a seed of doubt into Semele's ear. "If he is truly a god," Hera whispered, "make him prove it. Ask to see him in his true divine form." When Zeus next visited, he promised Semele anything she desired. She made her request, and Zeus, bound by sacred oath, had no choice. He revealed himself in his full, terrifying glory as a pillar of pure white lightning. The mortal frame of Semele could not withstand the heat of the heavens. In a flash of blinding light, she was consumed by fire. But as she fell into ash, Zeus reached into the flames. He rescued the unborn child, the tiny spark of life that was Dionysus. The secret of the thigh. Here is where the story takes a turn into the surreal, the kind of imagery that dances behind your eyelids as you drift towards sleep. Zeus didn't want Hera to find the child. To protect the infant, he cut an opening in his own thigh and placed the unborn Dionysus inside, stitching the wound shut with golden threads. For months, the king of the gods carried the child within his own body. When the time was right, the stitches were undone, and Dionysus was born again, the twice-born god. This strange dual birth gave Dionysus a unique nature. He was born of mortal ash and divine fire. He was both of the earth and of the stars. This is why he is the only god who truly understands the human struggle, the heat of our passions, and the cold reality of our mortality. The Cave of Nysa and the Nymphs. To keep the twice-born safe from Hera's lingering wrath, Zeus sent the infant to the faraway, mythical land of Nysa. Imagine a valley hidden by a curtain of mist, where the sun filtered through the leaves in patterns of liquid gold. There, in a deep, cool cave draped in wild ivy and purple grapes, Dionysus was raised by the Hyades, the rain nymphs. Close your eyes and imagine the sounds of his childhood, the constant trickle, the sound of a freshwater spring bubbling over mossy stones at the back of the cave, the humming of nymphs, the soft, melodic chanting of the spirits as they fed the young god on wild honey and the milk of mountain goats, the rustle of the vine. The sound of the first grapevines growing, their tendrils reaching out like tiny green fingers, wrapping around the entrance of the cave to create a living door. In this hidden sanctuary, Dionysus discovered the secret of the vine. He watched as the grapes grew heavy and dark, eventually bursting and fermenting in the sun. He learned that within the fruit lay a spirit, a juice of madness, that could make a man feel like a god. The wanderer returns. Dionysus did not stay in the cave forever. He grew into a young man with skin the color of cream and eyes like dark wine. He began a long, slow journey across the ancient world, traveling through Egypt, Libya, and far-off India. He traveled on a chariot pulled by panthers and lynxes, followed by a growing parade of satyrs and flute players. Everywhere he went, he taught the people the art of viticulture, how to plant the vine, how to prune it, and how to harvest the joy within the grape. But he also brought a warning. His gift was a double-edged sword. To those who welcomed him with open hearts, he brought peace and ecstasis. To those who resisted him, those who tried to stay too civilized and denied their wild nature, he brought a madness that could tear a kingdom apart. He eventually returned to Greece, not as a stranger, but as a conquering king of the soul. He brought with him the music of the aulos and the rhythm of the drum, leading the people out of their stone cities and back into the hills where he was raised. Tonight, as you listen, you are following that same trail, away from the noise of the modern world, back toward the cool, ivy-draped cave where the twice-born god first learned to dream. Part 3. The Sacred Revel, the Wild Parties. As the wine, dark, thick, and potent, is passed in silver chalices, the parties reach their peak. This is the Nyctelia, the night-rites. Under the silver glow of the moon, the Greeks practiced a form of communal healing through pleasure. There is no judgment here. The social hierarchies of Athens and Thebes have melted away. In the firelight, the skin of the revelers glows with sweat and oil. The music of the aulos, the double pipe, becomes a hypnotic drone that shuts down the thinking brain and awakens the feeling body. It is a celebration of fertility, of the sap rising in the vine, and of the raw power of creation. By the time the fires begin to flicker low, the participants have reached a state of catharsis, a total emotional and physical emptying that leaves them ready for the deepest rest. The atmosphere of the Orgia, the crossing of the threshold. As we leave the origin of the god behind, we return to the forest floor. The transition from the city to the sacred grove was known to the Greeks as a crossing of the threshold. Imagine the physical sensation of walking away from the stone-paved streets of Athens. Your leather sandals, which clicked sharply against the limestone of the agora, now move silently over a carpet of fallen pine needles and damp earth. The temperature drops as the canopy of ancient oaks and plane trees closes over your head, trapping the scent of the night. It is a thick, intoxicating perfume, a blend of wild thyme, crushed mint, the musk of wood smoke, and the heavy, fermented sweetness of the god's primary gift. You are entering a space where time is no longer measured by the shadows of a sundial, but by the rhythmic heaving of the earth. The alchemy of the black wine. In the center of the glade stands a massive bronze crater, a mixing bowl the size of a chariot wheel. Inside is the wine, but this is not the wine of a modern dinner table. The ancient Greek wine of the Dionysian rites was a thick, syrupy concentrate, often infused with honey, cinnamon, and resin. Listen to the sound of it being poured, a heavy, glugging resonance like liquid velvet falling into a deep well. It is so dark it appears black in the torchlight, only flashing a deep, bruised purple when it catches the flame. This wine was believed to be the literal blood of Dionysus, containing his Zoe, his indestructible life force. When the revelers drink, they do not sip. They drink deeply from silver kylix cups. As the liquid slides down your throat, imagine the warmth spreading, not just in the stomach, but radiating outward into the fingertips and toes. It is a chemical key designed to unlock the inner gate. The Greeks believed that the wine didn't make you drunk. It removed the mask of the self, allowing the true wild spirit beneath to breathe for the first time in a year. The rhythm of the blood now, the music begins to change. Earlier, it was a distant thrum. Now it is an all-encompassing wall of vibration. The tympanum players sit at the base of the trees, their hands moving in a blur against the animal skin drums. The sound is low frequency, a brown noise of the ancient world. It vibrates in your chest cavity, matching the frequency of a resting heart, and then slowly, very slowly, pulling it upward into a trance state. The owlous pipes join in, 2 reeds played at once, creating a dissonant, haunting drone. It sounds like the wind screaming through a narrow mountain pass, or the cry of a distant bird of prey. This music was intentionally non-melodic. It was designed to bypass the logical centers of the brain. You cannot think to this music. You can only move. The sacred dance and the orgy. In the flickering orange light of the bonfires, the dance begins. This is the sacred revel that the historians often describe with hushed tones. It starts as a gentle swaying, thousands of bodies moving like a field of wheat in a storm. But as the drums intensify, the movement becomes more primal. The sex parties of the Dionysian night were called the aphrodisia. But look closer through the smoke. This is not the chaos of a riot. It is a choreographed surrender. The Greeks saw the body as a gift and its pleasures as a form of worship. In the hidden glades, under the protection of the night god, the strict laws of the city-state crumble. The erasure of class. A high-ranking magistrate may find himself in the arms of a dock worker. The union of opposites. The feminine and masculine energies of the festival merge into a single undulating force. There is a profound sense of communitas, the feeling that you are no longer an individual, but a single cell in a massive, living organism. Every touch, every embrace, and every rhythmic movement is an act of prayer to fertility. They are charging the world with the energy required to bring the spring back. The air is thick with the sound of thousands of rhythmic breaths, a collective sigh that rises into the canopy and drifts toward the stars. The peak and the softening, the revelry reaches a fever pitch, a moment the Greeks called the apex. For a few heart-stopping minutes, the dancing is so intense, the music so loud, and the ecstasy so total that the world seems to stand still. This is the ecstasis, standing outside of the body. But then the god begins to pull the energy back. The drums slow, the aulos player lowers his pipes, the wine bowls are empty. The transition from the peak of the party to the deep sleep of the morning after is the most hypnotic part of the night. One by one, the revelers collapse. They do not fall in a heap, but settle like leaves. They find beds among the roots of the trees, on piles of discarded ivy crowns, or in the soft, warm embrace of one another. The heat of the bonfires is now a gentle radiance. The smoke has cleared, revealing the constellations of the Greek sky, Orion, the Great Bear, and the Milky Way, looking down on a valley of profound, hard-earned peace. The wildness has been expressed. The madness has been purged. All that remains is the cooling air and the heavy, restorative sleep that only comes after the soul has been set completely free. Part 4. The Mask of Fate, Greek Theatre, and Oedipus. As the wild energy of the forest cools, we move toward the structured madness of the city. Dionysus was also the father of the theatre. Here, the wildness of the forest was channeled into the masks of the actors. The most famous of these masks belonged to Oedipus. In the great theatre of Dionysus, thousands sat in silent awe as they watched the tragedy of the man who killed his father and married his mother. It was a story of Ananke, inevitable fate. As the actor playing Oedipus cried out in his final blinded moments, the audience felt a profound sense of pity and fear. This was the theatrical version of the Orgy, a way to experience the most intense human emotions from the safety of a stone seat, purging the heart so it could finally find peace. The stone cradle of drama. As the first light of pre-dawn begins to grey the horizon, the scene shifts from the wild, uneven forest floor to the perfect mathematical symmetry of the theatre of Dionysus. Imagine a massive semicircle carved directly into the living rock of the Acropolis. The seats are cool, smooth limestone, rising in tier after tier like the petals of a giant stone flower. In the center is the orchestra, the circular dancing place. To the ancient Greeks, this space was a portal. When an actor stepped into this circle and donned a mask of wood or stiffened linen, he ceased to be a man. He became a vessel for the god. The theater was the civilized version of the orgy. It was a place where the community could experience the most terrifying heights of human emotion, betrayal, murder, and madness from the safety of their seats. The silence in a Greek theatre was not empty. It was a heavy, expectant pressure shared by 15,000 people breathing in unison. The arrival of the hero. Into this silent stone cradle steps Oedipus. In the story the Greeks knew so well, he's a man of supreme intellect and staggering confidence. He is the superpower of the human mind made flesh. But before he was a king, and before he was a tragic figure, he was a wanderer on a dusty road approaching the city of Thebes. Thebes was a city under a curse, paralyzed by a nightmare. Perched on a high rocky outcropping overlooking the road was the Sphinx. She was a creature of impossible, dreamlike terror. She had the sleek, muscular body of a lion, the expansive wings of an eagle, and the cold, beautiful face of a woman. She did not kill with claws alone, she killed with the mind. To pass into the city, one had to answer her riddle. If you failed, you were consumed. Part 5. The Primal Spirits, Satyrs and Maenads. Finally, we return to the spirits who live in the fringes of the story. The satyrs, with their goat legs and mischievous smiles, represent the unbridled masculine energy of the earth, always dancing, always seeking the next delight. And then there are the Maenads, the raving ones. These women, who spent their days in quiet domesticity, became the most powerful force in the Greek world during the festival. They wore the skins of fawns and slept on beds of moss. In this final part of our journey, we see them not in their frenzy, but in their quiet moments, curled up under the ancient olive trees as the dawn approaches. The drums have stopped, the aulos is silent, the madness has passed, leaving only the cool, crisp air of the Greek morning and a silence so deep it feels eternal. The bestiary of the night. As the human revelers begin to tire, the stage is taken by the creatures of myth, beings that the Greeks believed were as real as the trees themselves. In the flickering, dying light of the bonfires, the line between the human and the animal world becomes thin, like a worn piece of papyrus. First, there are the satyrs. In the bustling superpower of Greece, the satyr was the embodiment of everything the city tried to suppress. Imagine them leaning against the gnarled trunks of ancient olive trees. They are half man and half beast, with the sturdy hairy legs of goats and short blunt horns budding from their foreheads. Listen to the sound of their presence, the rhythmic, hollow clack-clack of hooves against limestone. They carry the Sphinx, the pan flute, and as they play, the notes are not structured like a song, but breathy and wild, echoing the trills of a night bird. The scent of the satyr is the scent of the deep earth, of wet musk, raw wool, and the sharp, invigorating tang of crushed pine needles. They represent the unpushed life, the constant bubbling energy of the forest that never sleeps. The maenads and the sacred silence moving through the mist like ghosts are the maenads, the raving ones. But as the night winds down, they are no longer raving. They have entered a state of galeen, a profound, supernatural calm. Imagine the texture of their clothing. They do not wear the fine, pleated linens of the city. Instead, they are draped in the skins of fawns and leopards, nebris. Feel the contrast, the cooling mountain air against your skin and the heavy, soft warmth of the spotted fur. These skins were not just clothing. They were a spiritual second skin that allowed the women to channel the predatory grace of the cat and the gentle speed of the deer. In their hair, they wear crowns of living ivy, the leaves cool and waxy against their temples. And most surreal of all are the snakes. The Greeks believed that during the festival the maenads would handle serpents, not out of fear, but in a state of divine harmony. Imagine the sensation of a small, cool grass snake draped around a wrist like a living bracelet, its tongue flickering out to taste the salt of the night air. There is no danger here. In the world of Dionysus, the predators and the prey sleep side by side in the moss. The miracles of the mountain. As the night reaches its deepest point, the miracles of Dionysus begin to manifest in the landscape itself. This is the dream logic of the story, where the world becomes a place of infinite abundance. The fountains of wine. Imagine a Maenad striking a rock with her thyrsus, the ivy-wrapped staff. Instead of a spark of flint, a stream of dark, sparkling wine erupts from the stone, flowing like a miniature waterfall into a pool of white quartz. The springs of milk. In another corner of the glade, a woman pushes her fingers into the soft, dark soil, and a spring of pure, frothy milk bubbles up, cooling the earth. The honey of the oaks. Look up into the branches of the great oaks. The Greeks believed that during the Orgia, honey would drip from the leaves like golden rain. Imagine the sticky, floral sweetness of it, a gift from the bees who were considered the messengers of the gods. The sounds of these miracles are the ultimate sleep aid. The bubbling of the wine spring, the soft patter of honey hitting the leaves, and the distant rhythmic lowing of mountain cattle. It is a world where every need is met by the earth itself. There is no hunger, no thirst, and no toil. The final descent into stillness. The satyrs eventually lay down their flutes. The maenads find soft hollows in the roots of the trees, curling up together for warmth. The leopards and fawns that followed the procession settle into the tall grass, their breathing slowing into a long, deep cadence. You are now in the sanctuary of the mountain. The bustling superpower of Greece, with its wars and its philosophy, feels like a distant memory, a dream had by someone else. Here, under the protection of the twice-born god, the only thing that matters is the rhythm of your own breath and the cool, heavy silence of the Greek night. The stars above begin to fade, not because the sun is rising, but because the world is finally closing its eyes. Part 6. The coda, the pale blue dawn, the softening of the world. As we reach the conclusion of our journey through the Dionysian night, the world undergoes one final quiet transformation. The deep, bruised purples of the midnight sky begin to thin, giving way to a pale, translucent indigo. The air on the mountain reaches its lowest temperature, a crisp, clean chill that feels like a fresh draft of spring water. The fires have long since died down to beds of glowing orange embers, occasionally letting out a soft hiss as a stray drop of dew falls from the canopy above. The smell of the wood smoke has changed. It is no longer sharp, but mellowed and earthy, blending with the scent of the damp limestone and the waking wildflowers. This is the hesychia, the divine stillness, the afterglow of the Orgia. Look across the glade. The thousands of revelers who, hours ago, were a single pulsing mass of energy are now indistinguishable from the landscape itself. They are curled in the hollows of trees, draped over mossy rocks, or huddled together in the soft, discarded skins of fawns. There is a profound sense of lightness in this scene. In the bustling superpower of Greece, the weight of the future, of wars, of politics, of the coming harvest is a heavy burden to carry. But this morning, that weight is gone. The madness of the night acted as a sacred fire, burning away the anxieties of the ego. What remains is the afterglow, a physical and spiritual emptiness that is not lonely but full of peace. The body is spent, the mind is quiet, and the heart is open. The return to the city of stone. Slowly, the first birds begin to stir. Not the shrill cries of the daytime, but the soft, tentative chirps of the mountain warbler. In the distance, the white marble of the Acropolis begins to catch the very first hint of light, glowing like a ghost against the dark hills. The participants will soon wake. They will stand up, shake the pine needles from their robes, and walk back down the winding mountain paths toward the city. But they will not be the same people who left the gates yesterday. They carry the secret of Dionysus back with them, the knowledge that beneath the rigid laws of man lies a wild, beautiful, and indestructible river of life. They return to their looms, their forges, and their fields with a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that the floating world of the night is always there, waiting just beyond the trees. The final fade. But for you, the journey ends here, in the quietest moment of the morning. The drums are a memory, the wine is a dream. The masks of the theatre have been laid aside. Imagine the sensation of your own breath, slow and steady, matching the rhythmic sigh of the Greek forest. The stars have dissolved into the light of the coming day, and the world is a blank, white canvas of peace. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to see, and nothing left to hear but the silence. The twice-born god has returned to his cave. The Sphinx is gone, the road is clear. You are safe, you are still, and you are finally deeply asleep. The fires have turned to ash. The mountain air is cool, still, and silent. The dancers have found their rest among the roots and the moss, their spirits quieted by the nectar of the gods. The floating world of the night is closing its eyes, and you are closing yours with it. The stories of kings and satyrs are drifting away, becoming nothing more than a faint echo in the mist. There is no more past. There is no more future. There is only the rhythm of your breath and the deep, heavy peace of the Greek morning. The journey is complete. The goddess of sleep has taken the torch from Dionysus, sleep now beneath the silver stars of the Aegean. Sleep in the cradle of the ancient world. Good night.